we're going to start at the state level. I'm not sure if everybody knows, so I'm going to give you a pop quiz. How many cannabis bills are in the State House right now?
35.
Oh, okay, fine, you win. We have
James, you don't count.
seriously 21 or so.
Wow. Oh, God.
Or so different proposals coming every which way. It is seriously a pardon my French, shitstorm of legislation, some meant to distract, some meant to restrict, some maybe had a good intention when it first started out. Nothing I'm putting my heart behind yet. Nothing, not a thing.
Yay.
Oh wait, no, you know what? I do support the organ transplant. That is the only one that does no harm to patients. The only bill that's okay, does no harm to patients, is the organ transplant bill. Everything else is kind of copycatting what was going on with 1262 last session, which means limiting personal growing, banning collectives, taking apart SB 420, which is what allows us to collectively cultivate. A lot of putting the ABC, the alcohol beverage control, even on top of medical cannabis, which is not, for adult use or legalization or whatever, I don't think I have a big issue with that. But for medical cannabis, I don't think we need to be under the alcohol beverage control. That's not a fit for me, or I hope anybody else here. And then we have some, just yesterday, we have the police chief bill, which is 266, and it got out of committee yesterday. That's a little bit disconcerting. It's really restrictive. It's definitely going to limit patient activities. It's nothing that I can support as a patient advocate. So, as the bills go through the Assembly and the Senate, when they hop over the fence to go through the other house, is I think when we should land. Because then we can get our bus and we can get to Sacramento and we can really start hammering home that we don't want this medical cannabis restrictions coming from the State House. We want to take a ballot to the voters, right? Yeah. Do you want politicians to decide your health, or do you want your fellow California voters? Vote. Right? I mean, it's kind of easy that way, We want to take this to the voters. So I'm going to make it a really powerful announcement. Access to Love is so devoted to taking this to the voters to get the best cannabis laws that we can for medical and for recreational or adult use or therapeutic, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That a few of the patient advocacy team core members signed on as proponents of a state ballot measure. So if you go to the government website, you're probably going to see my name. You're going to see Eli's name. You're going to see the first session of patient advocates like John Martinelli. You're going to see our names as proponents for a state initiative. This is the initiative that's open source. So it's the first that's ever been filed in California as open source. That literally means that people plugged in and helped create this policy. And that's another reason why we're getting behind it. The huge reason we're getting behind it is the only proposal so far that says anything about supporting compassionate providers and keeping us on the map. That's the big reason. Because a lot of these state ballot initiatives are going to look similar, but you'll notice a lot of them have compassion missing. So we wanted to get behind the one that was open source, that had compassion in it, that was created, you know, by activists. And then we filed on 420. Now with the new state law, there's public comment for 30 days, so you can get online, make your comments, and then a whole more patient advocates. We're going to refile after our public comments, and we're going to gain more proponents and more patient advocates. By the second filing, then we're really going to start grabbing our signatures. But there's a whole movement, a whole very conservative movement of lobbyists, and that's their bread and butter. Baby's got to have shoes, I understand. But jumping on patients' backs that have been holding you up, really, I mean, we really opened the doors for legalization across the country with our efforts. We really did.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Prop 215.
To lock us out and to make like really intense restrictions inside of the state house that benefit only big business is what we're looking at. It's total piracy. Thank you, Frank. That was, very profound piracy going on here. And we have to make sure that we get it out. We got to steal it back. We got to get it out of the state house. We got to get it off the lobbyists' hands. And all of them right now, every single cannabis lobbyist is going to tell you that they're there for the little guy.
Oh, God.
Lobbyists are never there for the little guy. I mean, we all know that, right?
Spare us.
know that.
There's not a way you can miss that. So there's, you know, and every politician says that they're there for the middle class, the working class, the college kids. It's just rhetoric, you know. Baloney. Yes, thank you. Rhetoric, baloney. Yes, literally baloney. Awesome. So we are going to be running up against another initiative that's running the exact opposite way of how we're running. Apparently they think that they are the Illuminati of the cannabis movement, and we don't need to read their proposal. We just need to believe in them because they have money. And I'm not even joking. You can ask a cannabis lawyers, have you gotten to read it? Not if you're not in their inner circle. That's not how you develop public policy. But they're going around and they're having these little sort of Girl Scout Tupperware meetings in different cities with club owners. And they're giving them a sheet of paper and asking them a few short questions of what they'd like to see. And somehow that is community buy-in. No, that's a Girl Scout meeting, and it's really deceptive. I think if you're going to propose policy for an entire state of people, people should be able to read it and review it before they get behind it. So, you know, the minute that they actually show us their policy, maybe we'll be able to talk about it. But I know you think that I'm like exaggerating to make a point, but that's actually really what's happening. They will not show you a draft of their proposal. It's incredible.
If they have one.
They definitely have one, but here's the other little inner skinny thing that everybody should be aware of, is that with the new voter ballot initiative process in California, after you've gathered 25% of your signatures, you get a hearing before the state legislator, and you get an opportunity to kind of like make a deal, make a compromise, and then you don't have to take it to the voters. In other words, you can circumvent the voters. So I think maybe a sinister plot, let's hope I'm wrong, that they release their thing, get the 25%, and crack a deal with the government and say, well, why would you need to vote for the other one? We already made a great deal. We don't need the voters. So this is going to be a really interesting year because I want to take this to the voters because I think we can get progressive policy through California right now. We got 47 through. I don't see why we can't get something that embraces medical cannabis in California as it stands, as it is, there's really not a problem. It's not broken. Don't fix it. That's the state level.
Yeah.
At our local level, we've been, we started a petition on 420 because we're concerned that some of our local dispensaries are going to get basically bid out of their leases by out-of-state interests that can basically go to these San Francisco landlords that have established a use of cannabis in that location. So the permit's actually tied to the land use. It's not tied to the collective. So that means, let's say, God forbid, one of my favorite dispensaries is Bassa. Let's say the landlord gets to the end of the lease and the out-of-state big pot interest comes up and says, I can pay 4 times what that guy's paying. Boom, then you lose another collective, right? You lose your original San Francisco providers who actually, even though we're not fully satisfied with their sense of compassion, let me tell you, compassion does not exist in LA. Compassion does not exist in San Jose. So we want to keep the providers that are kind of working with us, right? Versus somebody that's just out there. So while we're working on this and also having some conversations with Sheriff Mercarimi and other folks to really take a new look at an old proposals of municipal medicine and getting a compassion program going here, we have the business lobby in San Francisco now forming a task force under Scott Wiener for legalization. 19-member task force with mostly, we can probably already name the people that they want to seat if you were following our former task force at all, right? I mean, it's like, this is going to get crazy. So when I found out this was going on, I asked Jane Kim to forward me a copy of it. I told her I had some concerns. People may have noticed that she co-sponsored, signed on as a co-sponsor, and I believe that that's because she's going to try to help us get this a little bit more balanced. But, if you want this to be more balanced, Jane's office hours are May 8th from, I think, about 2 o'clock on. 1:30. Okay. Actually, I've got the 1:30 appointment.
Oh, never mind, sorry.
So from 2 o'clock on.
Can you run that by me again when you said the appointment thing?
So if you live in District 6, so if you live in South of Market, if you live in the Tenderloin, if you live a little bit into the Mission, Jane Kim's your supervisor, and she actually has office hours where you can sit down with her face-to-face each month. And the next office hours are May 8th from, I think, 2 to 5-ish. And I really encourage patient advocates, if you want to see a fair legalization task force, to get in there and let her know that. It's just kind of foolish. 19 members is going to be really hard to make quorum. It's going to be just a disaster on many levels. But what I want to know is, why is the city addressing adult use when we don't even have medical use hammered out? You can't tell me that everybody that needs medical cannabis in a sanctuary status city is getting the medicine they need, how much they need, and that we have some equal access here. So why are we jumping ahead and actually inviting big business to the table before we're finishing our work with the medical system and making sure that it's a fair system? So I'm going to be working with Sheriff Mercarimi and Jane Kim on that. Trust me. But we are going to have to go and face off with the people that are proposing this legalization task force and what's really going on. Are they becoming the gatekeepers? Are they going to support legislation that nobody is allowed to read? we're proponents, some of us are proponents of a statewide ballot initiative, and we were not invited to this table. So that's a huge problem if only the business-orientated lobbyist crew, once again, is trying to pirate City Hall, which is supposed to be the people's building, and there's a lot of lip service paid to being about us. So, transparency, and also we got to get there and show face pretty darn soon. So, please, if you're interested in this, you want to make sure that this gets balanced out, let me know, let John know, let Denise know, and we'll get people, up to speed on the amendments that we're going to propose for this. And then also, I think it's really important that we keep our eyes on the prize and focus a lot of our level of attention to the MCLR. Mid-May, we're going to be doing a town hall. I'm not sure of the exact date and the location, but I will definitely be posting it on my Facebook pages. And if you're not, haven't friend me, I'm your friend. I get sad sometimes. I'm like, well, how come everybody hasn't friended me already? In California, which could almost make this, which is such a natural thing, illegal. So we have a big battles ahead of us, and it's just really good to release the energy in Mother Nature. So until we get probably to around where hopefully it will rain, like remember we used to have that rainy season? Well, if that comes back, then we're gonna start renting rooms again. But I'd rather be able to spend the money that I was using to rent a room to be able to be out here and puff a little something of quality together.